Romance. It's something we all crave in our lives. Actually, that's not true. Some people genuinely couldn't care less about it, and that's okay. But if you're like me, it's definitely something you crave, like all the time. The feeling of connection with someone else, intimacy. It's love, baby. Today, I'll be sharing with you my 10 favorite romance manga series. Some of these got me through the darkest, loneliest times of my life, and hey, I don't know, maybe it'll help you too. If you're totally happy with your romantic life, it might even just be that fun little extra, a little something else to relate to in this world, like, damn, this fictional character loves this person so much, just like I love my partner. And then bam, you feel all good inside and stuff. It's a good feeling. So, let's get into it. Before we get started though, I'd like to welcome you to MangAnalysis, where I do little videos about the manga I've been reading. If you like what you see and would like to see more, make sure to subscribe and leave a like. Maybe even leave a comment. Let's get a conversation going. One more thing before we really get into it. What does qualify as a romance? Tons of series out there have romantic elements, but not all of them, to me anyway, would have enough to qualify as a romance manga series. For example, there is romance in Naruto, like the explosive, passionate love that exists between Sakura and Sasuke. But is it really enough to make it a romance? No, it's only really there as a fun little bonus, I guess. Similarly, Rent a Girlfriend is a series that would most definitely qualify as a romance, or a romantic comedy at least, but I don't actually root for the main couple. I think the guy's an idiot and a loser, and I respect the heroine way too much to ever feel like they should be together. So in that respect, it fails as a romance. Also, I guess I should say these are in no particular order. Okay, let's get into this. Call of the Night. Call of the Night is interesting because the couple is declared essentially immediately, and the romance is sort of a vessel for character development. You have our main boy, Ko, who loves being out at night and wants this lifestyle to be his regular thing, so he asks his new vampire friend, Nazuna, to turn him into a vampire. Catch is, he needs to be in love with her for that to happen, so the story is pretty much just Ko and Nazuna trying to fall in love with one another so that he can turn into a vampire. The pacing of this one is really nice, starting them off as acquaintances and building them up as friends first. Nothing feels rushed, and seeing them both getting to know each other more and more intimately as the story goes on is really satisfying. It's like being friends in real life. You spend time together, ask each other questions, experience a variety of different things, and then with all that proximity, the feels start to bloom and bam, love. Well, that's the goal here. I like how this series skips the whole will they won't they, establishes the couple to be, and bam, gets you started on a very wholesome little journey. Love it. Kaguya-sama Love is War. Kaguya-sama Love is War would probably be my highest recommendation on this list. It just hits all the boxes. You have Kaguya Shinomiya, heiress to a super empire, and Miyuki Shiragane, a commoner turned student extraordinaire. Shiragane is president of the student council and Kaguya is the vice president. They also both have giant crushes on one another. The problem is, they both see confessing their love as a sign of weakness. This leads them to try and trick the other into admitting their feelings first, which is really fun. I was first introduced to this series via the anime, and I must say it's really good. While I found some scenes from the books better overall, I can't deny how dynamic the animation is, and added voice acting really brings it home. Funny enough, if you like Death Note but found yourself wishing there was more romance, and maybe that thousands of people didn't have to die so that some craved sociopath could see himself ruling the world with an iron fist of fear and oppression, then maybe Kaguya-sama is for you. Seriously though, not only are the two main characters fantastic, the series offers so many other characters, each with their own problems and romances, and it's an absolute joy to read. Forget Me Not. Forget Me Not is an interesting take on romance series because instead of focusing on a guy and a girl, it takes us through this one guy's multiple relationships over the course of his high school days to his early to mid-20s. The story starts with Yusuke, a high schooler who gets dared to hang out with Nobuta, a loner girl who generally only hangs out in the library. Originally tasked with teasing her by his loser bully friends, Yusuke eventually builds a very real friendship with Nobuta. Eventually, his friends start to bully him for hanging out with her, which leads him to treat her horribly, ruining their friendship. Years later, Yusuke runs into a woman from his past, and there starts our journey into Yusuke's past as we try to figure out which woman he ran into. There's some degree of mystery because throughout the series you wonder about two things: which girl did he run into, and which girl you think he might go back to after he's done remembering everything, if any. I really like this story because we see just how flawed the protagonist is. We see him be this amazing partner, and we also see him being straight up a garbage person. We see him be a successful worker at his job, and also a jobless bum who's given up, which totally affects the way he is with others. It's just neat to see a protagonist not only be a golden knight but also a sewer goblin. Makes his good moments shine even more and makes him very realistic. And you know what? Probably quite relatable as well. My Dress Up Darling. My dress-up darling is really fun because while the romance is straight up bussin', it's also educational and really interesting. Gojo is just a loner guy who really enjoys making dolls. Hina dolls. It's not weird. Okay. It's a little weird. And he knows it too, but it's okay because he's an artiste and he's great. One day, popular girl Marin is trying to make herself cosplay, only for Gojo to come in clutch and offer his help. It's more complicated and cute than that, but yeah, pretty well. They slowly start developing this dynamic duo of cosplayer and costume maker, and there lies a beautiful budding romance. Yep, the romance is amazing. Marin is the best girl and Gojo is a good lad, but what I really find fun on top of that is the cosplay elements. I've never been too into cosplaying, but I always admire people who are. Being an artist myself and into character design, I'm always wondering how costumes and armor work, so seeing Gojo plan out Marin's outfit is really cool. If you're into cosplay or romance or just a good old time, then I can't really recommend this series enough. Komi Can't Communicate. Komi Can't Communicate is taking over my life, and I'm really okay with it. Komi is a high schooler with an intense communication disorder. Can't really talk to anyone, friendless, and anxious. But she's beautiful and inspires awe in her classmates and teachers. Tadano is the most regular guy on the planet, super average, but good at reading the room and quickly notices Komi's problem and vows to help her make 100 friends. This series is very fun. Each new character is an absolute blast, and since the series takes us through a few years of their time in high school, we actually see new students come in and out of focus quite often, always keeping things fresh. Obviously, the romance is also quite awesome. It does take a while to start since the first 9 books or so are mostly all about Komi making friends, but once it starts, it never stops. Each book is filled with that sweet romantic development, even if only a little, and that's why I keep coming back. I love this series, and I can't wait to see how it ends. The World God Only Knows. This series is actually a harem, which can usually be the antithesis of a good romance, but trust me when I say it delivers the goods. Kaima is a gamer boy who specializes in dating sims. He's the best in the world, in fact, and one day gets forced by the King of Hell to seduce all the women that have been possessed by evil spirits, since love is the only way to free them. Kaima is in quite the predicament, since he's never actually really spoken to a real girl, only the 2D kind, and if he doesn't succeed, he gets decapitated. Pretty swell stuff, if you ask me. What's fun about this series is that despite seeing Kaima seduce all these girls, he never becomes a Giga Chad. There's 2 reasons for this. 1, they don't remember their interactions post spirit removal, and 2, no matter what, he still only really loves his 2D gals from his little video games. Each new girl we see feels fresh and interesting, and the things Kaima has to do to win their hearts are always varied and really fun. The ultimate pleasure to this series, though, is trying to figure out which of these real girls with real curves will be able to win Kaima's heart IRL. Psst, the series is completed, so you can actually find that out by reading it. Don't Toy With Me, Miss Nagatoro. Don't Toy With Me, Miss Nagatoro is maybe my favorite series on this list. I don't know, top 3 for sure. Senpai is just some normal dude, super shy with the lady folks, spending all his time in the art room making paintings. One day he meets Nagatoro, his junior, who absolutely ruins him and his self-esteem by bullying him hardcore, making him cry. Wait, I know. Wait a second. This then leads to a very real friendship and feelings with no weird power dynamics, I promise. You find out soon enough that Nagatoro genuinely cares for Senpai and is just really clumsy when it comes to communicating her feelings. She pushes him to shed his shyness and gain some confidence, and in return, well, I don't know, he doesn't do too much for Nagatoro other than reciprocate her feelings, which is sweet AF. His growth is her reward, and her attention is his. Great stuff, extremely funny, surprisingly wholesome, doesn't get much better than this. Okay, I'm sort of cheating here, but I also want to add 2 more series to this one. Kubo Won't Let Me Be Invisible and The Dangers in My Heart. I'm adding these 2 series to the Nagatoro section because they're extremely similar, in the best way. Please don't take that as in they're all the same, because they're not, but they do have very similar vibes to them, like siblings, if you will. The Dangers in My Heart and Kubo have both become 2 of my favorite ongoing series, and I can't really recommend them enough. Kubo is about a shy boy who's being teased and romanced by a high energetic, mischievous classmate. Does this sound familiar? And Dangers in My Heart is about an angsty emo boy slowly falling in love with a quirky, kind-hearted classmate. Both are absolutely wonderful. Seriously, if you like Nagatoro, please check out the other 2. Oh Maidens in Your Savage Season. Oh Maidens in Your Savage Season is amazing, okay? It just is. I love this series. You got yourself 5 super awesome female characters, all super different, not exactly super tropish either, which is neat. And they're all just vibing, trying to make it in a world filled with horny boys and endless sexual emotional confusion. It's the best. Kazusa, Nina, Momoko, Rika, and Hongo are all part of the literature club. As they get older, the books they read are becoming more mature in content, which makes them mostly all sort of super uncomfortable. This opens up many topics nearing the big SEX and leads them into confusing situations, which are all pretty funny. I really like the series because while it is a romance, it's a lot more about self-discovery and the complexities of growing up. While all plagued with the same confusion, all girls present deal with said confusion differently. They all have their own issues and problems, and they all feel extremely real. Not one of these girls feels like they were written to reflect male fantasy, which is something manga desperately needs more of. Amazing series, great characters, and really, really pretty art. So get to it, friends. Blue Flag. Blue Flag is next, and it's a very important series to me. Out of all this list, if I was to recommend one series and one series only, it would be difficult not to recommend this one. For funny, Kaguya-sama, for sure. But for like, something to relate to and feel heard, this one. I genuinely think every human being could benefit from reading this series. Taichi is just a normal lad who gets asked by a very shy girl, Futaba, for advice trying to get her crush, Toma, to like her back. Taichi is the guy to ask because he and Toma are really good friends. While doing that, Taichi develops feelings for Futaba, and we soon find out that Toma has feelings for Taichi, and Futaba's best friend, Masumi, also has feelings for Futaba. It's a whole thing. What's great about this series to me is its inclusion of LGBTQ characters. It's actually not really about them affirming their sexualities or their genders as much as it's about them coming to terms with who they have feelings for. They love who they love, and that's a scary thing for them. The series doesn't spend too much time describing what it means to be gay or queer. Instead, it focuses on these characters accepting themselves for who they are and by who they love. They're not necessarily defined by their sexuality, rather by who they are at their core, regardless of sexuality, if that makes sense. Sometimes stories will have queer characters that seem a little too much like caricatures because the author really wants us to know that they're meant to be queer characters, which sometimes can actually feel not super respectful and misleading. I think the characters in Blue Flag are masterfully written, and the relationships they develop in this series, platonic and romantic alike, are very realistic. Regardless of your gender or sexuality, this slice of life manga is 100% one you'll be able to relate to. Eyes is I''S. Finally, we've made it. If you've watched my video about my 10 favorite completed manga series ever, this one ranked second. I love this series. It's the quintessential romance series for me. It has everything I want. A great lead, flawed and confused, a fantastic, lovable, well-developed female counterpart, and a fantastic cast of supporting characters to help our protagonist finally get to that sweet, sweet hand-holding moment, and more. Much more. Ishitaka is a shy boy who has a giant crush on Iori, a fairly popular girl in his school. Through pure luck, he gets assigned to a school project with her, and there starts their journey. This series is great because it takes the time to develop a real friendship between them first. Even that takes a while since Ishitaka is just so damn shy and super awkward. Throw in a few other girls he fancies or that fancies him along the way, and you got yourself a classic nail-biter. Seldom have I read a love story more satisfying, emotional, frustrating, comical, and beautiful than Ishitaka and Iori's tale. I cannot recommend the series enough. Actually, I reread it recently, and while I still love it, while I still think it's amazing, some parts of it have maybe not aged super well. So there it is, my 10 favorite romance manga series. However, I do have a few honorable mentions, like as if this video wasn't long enough. Scum's Wish, which has a pretty neat setting. Two people who are dating because they can't get with the people they actually love, which is fun. GE Good Ending, which is literally Eyes except less good. Still, if you loved Eyes and are looking for something close to plagiarism, go for it. I love it. Also, it's by the same author that blessed us with Domestic Girlfriend. So, I don't know, do what you will with that information. Blue Spring Riot is another one. I actually love the author, Io Sakisaka. She wrote a few other cute little romance series, and you know what? While not excellent, they're all really fun and quite different from one another. Blue Spring Riot just so happens to be my favorite out of the three, but definitely check out the other ones. Blue Box! I actually made a video about this one recently. I would have loved to include this one fully, but I've only read the first few books. This one mixes romance and sports, which is really cool. I'm a little worried about this one because it could go all Suzuka on me, but if it keeps up the way it's going, it could very well make it into the list in the future if I ever make this video again. And with that, you now have like 17 series to check out if you fancy yourself some romance. I sure do, and I'm always looking for more. And that brings me down to you. Were there any series in this video that you like? Any that you think I missed? If so, please let me know in the comments down below. Like I said, I'm always looking for more of that sweet romance. I hope you enjoyed this little video, and if you did indeed enjoy it, consider subscribing. This was MangAnalysis, and I'll see you in the next one.